OBS, and now OBS is recording. So, hey everybody!
Hello.
I'm Tara, and
I'm Nikki.
we are your hosts of No Thoughts, Just Frosting, where we actually have a lot of thoughts, and we're not going to frost over them. Don't care if that's a cheesy-ass tagline or whatever, or a weird introduction. We don't care how cringe we get here.
It's all Gouda.
Yes, good cheese. Gouda cheese. We had a delicious buffalo-flavored cheese ball earlier.
And that's so good.
Yes, and even the cats went crazy on it. So it's like, here, have some cheese ball, and they were just like, oh my god, this is amazing. One cat more so than the other, but you know. But anyway, today's discussion, we're gonna get on a little bit on the ooky spooky train. This is not a creep house episode where we have listener stories where people have written in. We are actually going to talk about one of my slight hyper focuses, and that is the Black Plague. And we are going to tie it into the history of Poveglia Island in Italy, because they coincide, they connect, and if you're not familiar with the story, ghosts abound, allegedly. So, yeah, shall I start, or should we chat for a little bit more? Because
I mean, I think that, like, because this is our 4th episode, right?
yes.
Alright, and you want to talk about the Black Plague, and yeah. What do you think about our few works that we've done over the past couple weeks in photography have, like, kind of related us to the Black Plague? Because that's honestly what had inspired my Raven mask to begin with.
I can see that, actually.
I should have brought that out today, actually.
That would have been cool.
Yeah, you know, and it's funny because I looked at the feathered, like, blouse piece that I have for it, and I thought about grabbing that and putting it on, but then this outfit looked really cute, and I was like, yeah, fuck it, I'm gonna do this, you know?
Yeah.
So, anyways, that's what inspired me, and that's funny because you had asked to, you know, do the episode about that this week. So, yeah. I'm pretty excited about that.
I want to start by saying, you know, when I say the Black Plague, I'm talking about the Bubonic Plague, the one that we're most familiar with.
Bring out your dead.
Bring out your dead. And then,
I'm not dead.
I feel fun. I'm sorry. I was in high school when I saw Monty Python's Holy Grail, and I'm like, this is dumb, but this is funny.
Yeah, no, Monty Python is definitely, like, a comfort comedy source for me.
And, like, it's a special type of comedy. Like, if you're not in on... It's almost like if you don't, like... I don't know.
It's the dry English humor.
Yes.
Like, it's definitely that, like...
If that's not your vibe, you're gonna think it's the dumbest shit ever, but, like, if you catch the references...
it's okay to be wrong. Like, you're allowed to be wrong, but...
Yeah.
You know,
but,
it's good stuff. Be cultured.
I figured for this episode, I will get into some of the science behind the Black Plague. You know, Bubonic Plague, the Black Death. You know, we're gonna use those terms kind of interchangeably. But I'm gonna talk to you about the 3 different types of plague, how it was spread, the name of the bacteria, and some of the signs and symptoms. And there's actually a little bit of good news about the Black Plague, should you be infected with it. But you gotta be quick on that shit. So,
that brings me to another thing. So while you're talking about that, I'll look it up and then be like, ooh, when I finally find it, okay?
Right.
Okay.
So, the Black Plague, the instance that we're going to mostly discuss, happened in the, like, early to mid-1300s. There was... The Black Plague itself is caused by the bacteria Yersinia pestis, and the vector, I think, is the right word for it. Its method of travel is through fleas. And a lot of people kind of associate plague with rats and rat infestation and stuff like that. Mostly, it was the fleas that were on the rats. The fleas would bite people, which, for the record, you know, if anyone ever tells you fleas don't bite people, no, that is false. Fleas will bite anything if it considers you a food source. It's usually rats or cats or dogs, but regardless, fleas. Um, anyway, let's see. There are actually three different types of plague. There is the bubonic plague that we are most familiar with. Then there is pneumonic plague and septicemic plague, and I will break that down for you as well. The bubonic plague actually infects and affects the lymphatic system in the body, so your lymph nodes. Once you're infected, you will grow buboes, which is basically your lymph nodes become really swollen and tender and pustulous, basically. It's like some of the photos
like
that I've
giant
seen.
cysts and pimples, boils, just
Yeah.
out goes the weasel.
Yeah.
It's like, you ever play that game Pimple Popper? Pimple
No.
Pete? Is that what it's called? Pimple Pete?
I know what you're talking
It's
about.
Pimple Pete, yeah.
I know what you're talking about. And I can't, like, as satisfying as it is to watch, like, Dr. Pimple Popper and whatnot, it's like, sometimes it's like, I just don't want to.
Can you imagine, though, like, because that stuff has quite a range, too, and if, like, everybody's sick and you're just, like, going through and...
Well,
it got in my mouth.
Well, with the rise of like plague doctors and whatnot, like they were actually going around and lancing the buboes to like drain the bad blood and whatnot, and it's like, here's my lymph node, cut me open, doctor. And it's like, this is before germ theory was even a thing.
I mean, and this is before they started actually blowing tobacco smoke up people's butts, too, so.
Wait, what?
You never heard that? That's like blowing smoke up someone's ass was actually a thing. Yeah, I believe it was in like Isaac Newton's era. You know, like that's when they would treat people by like taking like a funnel and blowing tobacco smoke up someone's butt to like cure different kinds of ailments. Yeah.
That's funny, and that tracks because like...
Because people are weird and they like doing weird butt stuff.
Well, not only that, but like with the evolution of medicine and everything and technology, like we were just kind of flinging darts at the frickin' wall, hoping something would stick.
I mean, if you think about it, though, like administering herbal medications in that kind of tissue, it probably would absorb pretty quickly. You know, like how alcohol metabolizes. If you know, yeah.
So, and I mean, for the record, we are pro-science, but we also acknowledge that, you know, holistic or, like, natural remedies can work, you know?
She's not saying she's advocating for blowing tobacco smoke up your butt unless you want to be, like, some kind of, I don't know, what, I'm trying to find, like, kind of a PC way of saying it.
I don't know.
I'm
I have
talking
nothing
about
clever.
a dragon that's like the Nyan cat.
Yes.
Yeah, but it's just smoke just billowing.
I get it. No, that's funny. But, like, I never heard about that. I mean, granted, they used to try and, I think it was syphilis that they used to treat with mercury, and it's like, treat one poison for another poison. Okay.
I mean,
you know, or sorry, syphilis is not a poison. It's like treat one deadly thing with another deadly thing. That's what I meant to say.
It's like the biological warfare of, you know, like having people sleep with soldiers and getting them infected.
Yep, a la World War II.
Or hurdling infected bodies over gates.
Yeah.
With a trebuchet.
That was actually something I just learned. Like, right before we started recording, I was kind of doing some last-minute research because I love to wait until the last minute to do things. Yeah, let's talk about the Black Plague in Poveglia Island. By the way, I'm going to research this 5 minutes ago. But, no, I learned that, like... Who was it? It was like Jetty Bag or whatever, or Jenny Bag, the Conqueror or whatever. They were using the bodies of plague victims and launching the plague victims over the gates of a city as biological warfare. It's like, here, we have dead people. Haha, now you do too. And it's like, I didn't know that. Like, we didn't learn about that in school.
How long do the bodies of the plague victims have to lay there and have nothing else other than the corpses to feed on before the plague is, like, you're not going
inert.
to catch it. Yeah. Like, because, like, after, you would think after you've thrown the bodies over the castle gates, you know, and over the city gates or whatever, and, like, the plague did its thing. It's been a couple weeks. Nobody else is still alive. Or if they are, they're, like, on their way out. Like, are you just going to go in and, like, blaze it? Or are you just going to, like, toss some more flaming garbage over the city gates to raise it down? And now you got a cool shelter. Because, like, by the time that the plague gets effect, like, most of the food stocks and things like that are kind of going to go to, you know, bad.
So this is per the AI overview on Google, which take that with a grain of salt because
Killing
yay
me.
AI. For the record, we are anti-generative AI around here.
As she reads off AI shit.
I know. It says transmission from a carcass has been documented up to 35 hours after death. So transmission, like, if it's been less than 48 hours since that body's been there, like, don't touch it.
Yeah, but, like, do you, like, keep your trebuchet of, like, sick, flingable patriots, like, in the back of the caravan? Or, like, what are you doing? Because you need them kind of somewhat fresh before you toss them over, you know?
Well, there's also,
It's
like...
an honor to die for your empire, I guess.
But, even if, hypothetically, say, the body is no longer infectious...
Oh.
Whoop, drop the vape.
Yeah,
Even if the body is no longer infectious, like, you're still gonna... Some people still get the heebie-jeebies off of, ew, rotting corpse, you know?
I mean, yeah, it's kind of gross, but it's medieval time, too, and they were a lot less sensitized to everyday functions and decay and things like that, which
Right.
is what we see also in, like, our celebrations and holidays and the way that they decorate with things, or public shaming and punishment.
Yeah. So, where was I going with this? Sorry, I completely brain farted. But,
I promise you my points are connected but seem disconnected. They'll come together.
no, it's totally fine. So, a body could remain infectious for up to, like, 35 hours, give or take. Again, this is per Google's AI overview. Like I said, take that with a grain of salt. But,
I mean, but it really wouldn't take that long to kill so many people off in a stronghold. Because I was thinking it was going to take a couple weeks. Like, that's a pretty quick kill rate. Like,
considering it can take anywhere from a day to a week for the onset to actually start showing, the onset of the disease to actually show signs and symptoms, death or infection and death could happen really quick. You know, and
you gotta think how healthy the people were in that point in time too,
and this is something that we should Google and, like, follow up and maybe explain in a later episode. Supposedly, like, I heard, I can't confirm nor deny if this is true, supposedly if you were immune to the Black Plague, it is true. It is true, because we talked about this in microbiology. If you were immune to the bubonic plague, you also couldn't catch AIDS.
Really?
You didn't know that?
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's a mutation that some people, if you have one copy of the mutation, you can contract HIV, but it will never progress to AIDS. It'll
just HIV the whole time instead of progressing on.
Yes.
Which would still suck in all fairness.
True.
But that's a closer step of at least vaccinating and being able to get, like, you know, some sort of subsequent boosters.
Right. And then if you have two copies of the mutation, you won't catch HIV at all.
Nice.
And I think they traced it back to, it's like, oh, your ancestors were immune to the Black Plague. And it's like, mind blown. You know, we learned about it in microbiology, and I'm like, that's cool. Don't want to find out the hard way, one way or the other, you know. But getting back to the bubonic, pneumonic, and septicemic plague, bubonic, like I said, is the one that we are most familiar with because of the buboes. Like, that's where bubonic comes from.
I mean, it shaped, like, an entire era of art, you know, and...
Yeah. And pneumonic is when the plague has infected the lungs, and as thus the plague has become airborne. So coughing, breathing on somebody, and you're infected. Like, don't swap air, don't swap spit, basically. And then septicemic plague, because the lymphatic system drains into the blood, the infection can get into the bloodstream. And unfortunately, with septicemic plague, it is like almost 100% fatality.
And how quick would you believe that the septicemic plague is? I believe it'd be pretty quick, because as soon as it hit your heart, it'd probably just like...
Yep, your blood pressure drops and your body just gives out.
Yep. That's terrifying.
Yeah, and once a body becomes septic, which again, when somebody becomes septic, that is when the infection, whatever has infected them,
has hit the bloodstream and it's circulating. It's a matter of time.
You can die within a couple of days. You know, it is very bad juju, and thankfully, there is actually a cure for the Black Plague now. Thank you to technology and medicine and the evolution of both. You basically get not necessarily overdosed on antibiotics, but there's 3 specific types of antibiotics that are usually used to treat it, and gentamicin is one of them. Unfortunately, if you are allergic to mold, I don't know what the alternative treatment is, because mold is used to create penicillin, and gentamicin is, I believe, like, I might have to go back and check this. I'm not the most well-versed on different medications and their effects and like where they stem from and things like that, but don't take everything I say as fact. I'm sorry, that's a disclaimer. That is also a reflection on my lack of preparation. I'm not apologizing, we're just talking.
I'm sorry, I'm not apologizing.
Shush.
Fucking stop.
I walk on eggshells like every time when I do this, and it's like, it's basically, I'm going off of what I know, off of what I've read, and I don't want to make speculation that ends up being misconstrued as misinformation. I mean, I'm not here to do that.
And if we do say something that can be corrected, this is the perfect time and opportunity to do that.
Yeah, we'll like start it in a later episode. Be like, oh, by the way, I said this last episode, that came out wrong. This is what I meant, and this is what is supposed to happen.
Or this is what I said, and this is how it affected things. And from this way out, this is what we're gonna do. Or we can be like, hey, and by the way, this is a delicious cake.
Welcome to the baking session, episode 4. Which actually, side note, I know we talked about this before. I want to start naming our episodes baking sessions, because we're usually hitting our vapes, and this is a like, cupcakes have kind of become they've kind of became like our icon or our logo, because we're no thoughts, just frosting. So everybody thinks cupcakes, and it's like, frosting, no thoughts.
We need like a cupcake Labubu kind of fashioned mascot for us.
That would be cute. I might have to try and doodle that on a later day.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't talk today. I always get tongue-tied. When I get like really excited or really passionate about something, I'm like, oh my god, things, I will like, I'm trying to, my mouth is basically moving faster than my brain can actually make me verbalize things, so it's like, stuff happens. It's like, I'm trying to get a word out, I will blend words together, and it's just, it's a thing. But, yeah, with the plague, like I said, you know, it's spread by fleas. I don't want to necessarily get too into detail about plague doctors. We all know, we know them by sight. You know, we see the beak mask and the big eyes, and it's like, that's a plague doctor. They're actually, this is something that...
I'm gonna look up a statistic about that. Go ahead, keep going.
This might actually be something that your oldest might be interested in. SPCs.
Yeah.
There is a plague doctor SPC.
Okay.
I think it's SPC 913 or something like that, which is kind of cool, because I know the numbers in its designation add up to the number 13, which I'm kind of obsessed with the number 13. I have a 13-pointed star tattooed on my back. You know, the number 13 has spiritual, religious, and cultural correlations, 13 is like my number. It's not as unlucky as people crack it up to be. Stepping off my little proverbial spiritual soapbox. But, where was I going with this? But, yeah, there is a plague doctor SPC. And he actually talks, or it actually talks, but, it was just cool. I was watching a video on YouTube about, like, the top 50, or the top 20 deadliest SPCs, and one of them was the plague doctor. And I'm like, that's cool. Tell me more, But as far as like the plague doctors themselves, they kind of were on the right track with like not so much how do I put it? They would go through and lance the buboes to like drain the infection out of a person, and in a way they're kind of on the right track with that, because like if you have a cyst or a large pimple somewhere on your body that for some reason is not popping, you go to the doctor and they lance it to get it out of you, So there's that, but germ theory I don't think existed at this point. Like they didn't really have much of an idea, like scientifically, what they were doing.
Right, well it wasn't until Nightingale discovered like washing your hands during, in between visiting your patients in battle.
Yeah. And
there was like a way to stop disease from spreading.
Yeah, and when that first came around, like people thought he was a lunatic.
Yeah.
And it's like, wash your hands, wash your tools, use alcohol, use hot water and maybe soap. But preferably like an antiseptic. Use that.
Yeah.
And people are like, "Rrr."
Well, because, she was a girl, so what would she know?
But there was also another doctor that like got no, it wasn't Nightingale that was treated like a lunatic. It was another doctor. And I am completely brain farting on
But, well, while you're looking that up, I do want to point out that the doctors, the medieval doctors, the plague doctors, actually were kind of onto something, because out of the 18 doctors registered in Venice, guess how many of them died of the plague?
How many?
5.
Out of the plague doctors?
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
The other 12 fled.
Pasteur. Why did I forget that? Louise
Right.
Pasteur.
Alright, well, and then that brings us over to this, because, like, if you want to get back to the island.
Yes.
Because not only was it used as a quarantine for ships during the time to make sure that there wasn't any plague coming in off of the trade routes, but also because it was turned from a farming area. It was at first like an agricultural island, which was a way also to safeguard your resources, because your shit's growing out there.
Right.
Anyway, so it was kept as a quarantine, and then also when it became an asylum, people started doing experiments out there. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. And how would you think that the effects of like the soils being rumored to be 50% human cremated remains, how do you think, like, do you think just because they're cremated that they wouldn't have any kind of like chemical effect on the environment?
I don't know, because we are organic matter. But no, like with Poveglia Island, like it started off as what you said, like agricultural, and then it when the plague came to Italy, it was through trade ships, and people on the island were like, what's with all these sailors? Why are they so sick? Oh shit.
Right.
As soon as they had their oh shit moment, it was too late, basically.
New type of scurvy.
Yeah.
Well, could you imagine, too, like, if, like, you had rats coming out, too? Like, could you imagine a sick rat, how aggressive they are?
No.
And you yourself not feeling well?
Yeah, it's like, oh.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Like, you getting nibbled on by a rat.
That has the plague, if the rat is still alive at this point, or being bitten by one of the infected fleas. It's like,
Right.
Yeah. And I act like this gives me the heebie-jeebies, but it's also like, it's still fascinating, you like, hundreds of thousands of people died from the plague, like, just
Right.
in Italy.
Right. And the Vatican, didn't they figure out just to keep the Pope surrounded by smoke and flame? Because if you keep it at a certain temperature and you keep it like smoked out enough to where you can't really like it's like the incense that they used to pack into the noses.
That was just to alleviate the smell because plague people don't smell very good.
Well, no, and it's also because it also did act as a filtering agent too.
Oh.
And yep, this is a little bit that I know because I used to study history.
Hey.
Yes. And so that's the Vatican had the Pope quarantined into the chamber, like that central chamber there, and then like they kept the holy water, and then they kept the fires going all around in a circle as like not only a spiritual barrier but also a heat barrier because he figured out that it didn't seem to stay effective for people that were in a hot, humid area.
Well, typically, I think there's like 5 categories of bacteria, and the bacteria that tend to infect us the most in general, and this is another thing we learned in microbiology, those bacteria live and thrive in the same temperatures that humans do. I think they're... I don't want to say the wrong term, but it's meso something, I think.
Mesosymbiotic?
No, I need to Google that. I'm not going to apologize for Googling things while we do this. This is just kind of on the fly, but...
It's like Osmosis Jones, you know? You gotta get it to a certain temperature and cook it out without overcooking the brain.
Yes.
The control center.
Oh, that's not what I meant. 5 types of bacteria, and it gives us Cocci, Bacilli, Spirillea, Vibrios, and Spirochetes. That's not what I meant to look for. 5 categories of bacteria by temperature. We've got psychrophiles, psychotrophs, mesophiles. That's what it was. Thermophiles and hyperthermophiles. So mesophiles are the category of bacteria that tend to infect humans because we operate on those same temperatures. And classification of microorganisms by growth temperature. Source libretext.org. Let's see. Mesophiles between 20 and 45 degrees Celsius. So we can definitely, or we can suggest or imply that Yersinia pestis is a mesophile because it infects humans. However, once, depending on the type of bacteria, once you reach a certain temperature, it dies. You know, so...
Much like us.
Yes, and psychotrophs will survive at 0 degrees Celsius but prefer mesophilic temperature. So, psychotrophs, I don't necessarily know of any off the top of my head that are classified under psychotrophs, but no, mesophiles are the ones that are like, oh, another organism that operates on the same temperature we do. What are we going to do to your body today? You know, right. So, and plague just kind of, it is a nasty customer, basically.
Well, at least that plague was just like pustules and things like that. Could you imagine, like, those one parasites that infect, like wasps and praying mantis and stuff, and then they, like, bust out all spindly and stuff, like,
or the zombie mold.
Yeah, like that kind of stuff. Like, could you imagine that? Like, that's not. I would be okay with people coming in and staying on that island to make sure that didn't happen over where I'm trying to hang out and have a nice cup of tea.
Right. So, how all of this, and we've already pretty much brought it up, Black Plague and Poveglia Island. What do they have to do with each other? Well, literally...
Why are we not allowed to go there anymore?
Supposedly, and this is... I've heard it from 2 sources, but one source said one thing and another source said something else. And I think the other source was a podcast episode that I listened to. Lights Out was the podcast.
Oh, nice.
But,
I've listened to quite a few, just trying to brush up on the idea of it, too. But...
Yeah. So, Poveglia Island became a quarantine zone for the plague when it hit Italy. And... pretty much, if you were being carted off or shipped off to Poveglia Island, you are on borrowed time. Like,
Right.
you're dying or you're gonna die.
Bring out your dead.
So, after the Black Plague dissipated, and after the disease ran its course and whatnot, Poveglia Island ended up becoming abandoned for a while. But during the plague, they were like, burn the bodies or bury the dead, and just
That's after they figured out that you could save the Pope by making sure it goes to a certain temperature. So cleaning up, they were burning all of everything that ever belonged. And that's why we lost a large chunk of European history right before the Dark Ages.
Yeah.
So.
And let's be real here, the 1300s wasn't exactly, or it was before the Age of Enlightenment or the Renaissance. So it's like,
I mean, but I think that people take that and misconstrue that into thinking that they were like just like stone hut primitive people, because they definitely weren't at that time.
No.
It's just.
But the Renaissance, you know, being filled with the advances in art and culture and science, it was just like, oh, this is what happens when you let people learn things, you know? So,
Poveglia Island.
Yeah.
It was abandoned for a while during the plague. They were like, burn them, burn them, burn them.
And eventually, and I learned that this asylum was closed down in the 1980s. Like,
really?
it was active for a long time.
You know, I could see that because our state home was closed down in the mid-2000s. I think it was like 2007 or 8.
That recent?
Yeah, no, like when I graduated high school, one of my first job interviews as a SENA was for the state home. Yeah.
That's freaky.
Yeah, no, like literally, like it was like an open secret our whole like time growing up. Yeah. Yeah, no, it's welcome to Cursetown, USA.
Right.
Nowhereville.
Yeah, let's talk
look at
about
this.
let's eventually talk about how like bad juju in places ends up like leaving a mark on the land.
Same thing with this island here, because
Yeah.
already we've got all these bodies of people that suffered and died miserably.
Yeah.
Sometimes rapidly, sometimes they wasted away well, watching everything and everyone that they loved be taken down by the disease, because it didn't only affect people, it also affected their livestock and their pets and
Yep. So
everything.
It's really fucked up. Like, and it spread so fast, but it's also like, you know, for as devastating as the plague was back in the day, like in modern history, our only thing that we can really relate on is either the Spanish flu in the early 1900s or COVID in 2020.
I mean, that's not saying, though, that people don't still get the bubonic plague. Like,
Right.
Here in America, at least 7 people a year are diagnosed with bubonic plague. And
Yep.
most of them are out west in New Mexico, Arizona, California.
Yep. But again, getting back to treatment-wise, whereas there really wasn't treatment available in the 1300s, nowadays there's like 3 different antibiotics that you can take to be cured. And it's like, yay! As long as you go to the doctor and get diagnosed. If you suspect you have the plague, throw a mask on, go to the doctor.
I mean, but have you ever had a hangover that made you feel like you had the plague?
No, I don't drink that often or much.
Okay, so when I first got pregnant,
What?
I felt like I was literally just like underwater dying. I had pneumonia too at the time.
Oh, God.
And I had gone out and partied, because I did that kind of thing during that time of my life. And yeah, I thought I had caught some kind of like plague, because I couldn't breathe. Like, I was like hot. I felt like my body aches and pains. Like, everything that they for the vid, they everything they said for that's how I had felt. But it turned out I was just pregnant.
Huh. See, I've never been like really sick, like hella sick. But when I was 19, I got mono. And it was weird because the only sign or symptom that I had, because there's a difference between the two. I won't get into that right now. But the only symptom that I was experiencing, I had this horribly sore throat. And breathing with my mouth open, breathing through my nose, both hurt. It hurt to swallow, it hurt to not swallow. I just suffered for like 2 weeks. And like literally I just kind of went about my business with this sore throat that like I didn't want to do anything. I'm just kind of like, I don't like this. This hurts. My throat fucking hurts. And my lymph nodes swelled up.
Yeah.
And I had never had mono before. So like one day I noticed I had like a bump on the back of my neck, and I'm like, what's this?
Right.
And then like a couple days later, I'm like, the lymph nodes in my neck are really swollen.
Right.
And then a week later, I noticed I had a swollen lymph node in my hip. And I'm like, what the fuck is wrong? And my mom, she scheduled me to go to the doctor, and they're like, we're going to test you for Bartonella, which is also known as cat scratch fever.
Meow.
And I looked it up. I'm like, cat scratch fever is spread by, like, kittens. And like, it's about...
Dirty baby paws.
Yeah. And we didn't have any kittens at the house. Our youngest cat was, like, over a year old at the time. So, of course, the Bartonella test came back negative, and then the doctor was like, well, that came out negative, we're going to test you for mono. And I went, yeah, right, I don't have mono. You guys are just vampires, and I have a rare blood type. This was a joke, I don't have a rare blood type. But,
I'm unique, it's a one of a kind.
Right. And turns out I had mono. And I'm like, but at the time, I'm like, back when I was 14 or 15 or 16, somewhere around there, my youngest stepsister had mono, and she was bedridden. Like, she needed my mom's help to get to the bathroom.
Funny how it, like, affects different people. And I wonder, that's something else we gotta look up on, and maybe we'll revisit it in another episode, is how many people had the plague, survived the plague, and then went on to pass the antibodies on to their children, like their offspring.
Right. And when I was tested for mono and it came back positive, I inquired about that. I'm like, how? Like, the only symptom or the only sign that I've had is a really bad sore throat and the swollen lymph nodes. I'm not running a fever. I'm not feeling weak. I carried like a 9-foot ladder at work 2 days before finding out I had mono, and I was hyper as fuck during that shift. And
I mean, but your body was probably running on adrenaline too, because like I'm sure there was like some things you're like, wow, this doesn't feel right, you know.
It was just my throat and my sore throat, or my sore throat and the lymph nodes. I'm like, what the fuck's going on? But like besides those, I felt fine. You know, and even the doctor, she noted, she's like, well, when we tested you for Bartonella, your white blood count was still high. But we've tested you for mono, and your white blood count is already starting to go down, which is showing us that you're recovering from this. And
so you've already been sick. The worst of it's over.
Yeah.
And you just kept handling it.
Yeah.
Right.
And I'm like, go me. I got over mono by myself.
Right.
You know, now in modern day, I've heard it from 2 separate sources. They may have discovered the root cause of lupus.
That's why, I sent you that article the other night. I thought that was really interesting. And what is it? 95% of the world's population has been infected with
mono.
The
Epstein-Barr virus, which causes mono. And Jordan's mom sent me the information as well. And
that's interesting, isn't
I'm
it?
like,
so is this where my lupus came from? Like, you know?
That's what I'm thinking. And, it blows my freaking mind because, like, even though I have lupus, I have friends who have lupus, and one of them in particular, it has really taken a toll on her. Like, there's days where she needs a wheelchair.
Yeah.
Other days she gets around with a cane, and rare days she's able to, like, walk around without assistance. But, lupus has done a number on her, whereas me, I just lost a lot of weight and my hair was falling out and I had this severe cold intolerance, which to an extent I still can't really handle much of the cold. But
So how much testing did you have to get done in order to actually get officially diagnosed?
a lot of blood work.
So, like, did the first round of blood work come back positive or negative? Like, nothing was
No,
fine? Or
my primary physician, he ran a couple of tests, and when those came back negative, he's like, all right, now we're going to do some blood work to test you for HLB47, which is an autoimmune marker. And he's like, if you have HLB47 or 27, I can't remember the number, he's like, if you have it, I'm sending you to a rheumatologist. And came back positive. He's like, all right, so your rheumatologist is in Lansing. Here's the number to call. And when I first met with my rheumatologist, which, for the record, I am blessed, and I admit my privilege here. I have an awesome primary physician, and my rheumatologist is equally as awesome. And I wish that for anyone who ever has to deal with a doctor. You know, if I could clone my primary physician and my rheumatologist and give a clone to everybody who ever has to deal with a doctor, I would, because they're amazing, you know. And they got right down to business. They're like, you're having this sign, you're experiencing this. You've been dealing with this since you were like in your 20s. You've been dealing with this for the last couple of years. We're going to figure this out. And she made me get a bunch of blood work done. And there's like 8 signs of lupus, like 8 main signs of lupus. And she's like, you don't technically have enough to qualify for like full-blown lupus, but the signs are pointing to you have like, you're in the early stages of it. And I'm like, oh, you know.
Right.
She's like, she ran a couple of like blood work tests and some physical tests. Like, I demonstrated to her that I am hypermobile and I didn't realize that. You know, like, I can touch my thumb to my wrist.
Yeah.
And she's like, that's actually not normal. And I'm like, I've been able to do this since I was a child. And she's like, yeah, that's definitely not normal. I'm like, cool. I'm a weirdo, you know? But no, she's, after running her tests and whatnot, she's like, you definitely have a connective tissue disease. We're going to get to the bottom of which disease it actually is. I'm going to immediately start you on this medication that I would prescribe to anybody with a connective tissue disease. And we'll go from there. And within about 6 months, within that 6-month span, I had started reacting positively to the medication. And that's when she's like, yeah, based on how you're reacting to the medication, you have lupus. And I'm like, cool. Not cool, but yay, I have answers, you know. And that was that. This was summer of 2022, and that's when I got my official diagnosis. She's like, we're going to start you on this. Your hair's still falling out, so let's put you on an immunosuppressant. The first one they put me on, I had a negative reaction to it.
Yeah.
Without getting too detailed, I had to be in close proximity to a bathroom all day, every day, and that wasn't fun. So she took me off that immediately, and now I'm on a different one, and it's been a walk in the park since, you know. But yeah, lupus, medication, technology, and medicine, science. Science is good. Everybody should major in it.
Science can be used for good.
Yes.
But science can also be used for bad because...
Tuskegee experiment.
Well,
oh, wait. Sorry, that's a whole different episode.
Yeah, I was just going to talk about the island.
Yeah,
and,
go ahead.
Like the mad doctor who is rumored to do lobotomies and all of that stuff.
Paulo, I think is the last name or his first name. I want, like, there's a part of me that wants to visit Poveglia Island and, like, just yell at Paulo and hope that he hears me, and I hope I get something on EVP.
The hospital was closed in 1968.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, it was converted in 1922 to an asylum.
Yikes.
Mm-hmm.
Off my soda.
But they used to do all kinds of stuff, like not only just lobotomies, but they used to do experimental brain surgeries.
Yep.
The electrotherapies were definitely a big thing. Hydrotherapies, cryotherapies. And then they say that there is 160,000 corpses buried on the island. But does that also not take into account all of the cremated corpses that became 50% of the soil?
That I don't know. It could be like, my guess would be like, this is how many they've documented going to the island, if they ever documented that.
Well, and like honestly, if he's a psycho killer, is he really going to be like
keeping track of all of his victims?
Yeah, because they're pointless once they're done, and he's done using them for what he wanted to, or if they failed the test.
Ugh. That's fucked up.
Yeah, people are fucked up.
And
I wonder though, like, does the history of the place, because we've talked about this before, about like actions and thoughts and emotions, like leaving a stain, does that influence, like, would that have been something that might have made the doctor gone mad to begin with? Like, because it started out as an altruistic, like, oh, I find this interesting, I want to see how the pathologies of this happen, because he had all of these disposable people that were getting sent on their last prayer and leg over to the island during the plague, you know, like, and that just, like, infected the island, which infected the people that came there, and the doctor went mad, but he was still a scientist.
I don't know. From what I've heard, Paulo was just a shit person to begin with. You know, like, these people are vulnerable, they need help, and he's all like, heh, test subject. You know, and
I mean, but who funded him?
I don't know.
Because are they not responsible as well?
Well, this was in the 1300s, so I don't know if funding was even a thing.
Or if he just, like, had the ability, wealthy amount of money, and, like, was able to dissect people just because, like...
This might be another thing we need to research.
Yeah, because...
I want to know more about Paulo.
I mean, this wasn't in the 1300s for, like, the psychiatric.
Yeah, but
that was in 1922, and I mean, like, who funded that guy? Like, nobody... He was in Venice. He was, like, pretty close to the Pope, who is, like, big daddy dog of the, you know, Roman Catholicism and stuff. You know, and so, like, who funded this guy, and, like, was it under the guise because it was medical treatment that it wasn't wrong? You know, it's just like, oh, well, maybe because it's not illegal, it's not wrong, and we shouldn't say nothing about it. Yeah. They said it was okay, so we're just following orders.
That...
No autonomy. Just take this little ice pick to your frontal cortex. No thoughts, just frosting.
Right. Frickin'...
Oh, rainbows and cupcakes.
Right. But, no, like... And... with lobotomies in general, it's like it... On the outside, it looks like it's a subtle procedure.
Yeah.
But you're literally doing brain damage.
Well, you're literally, like, eviscerating a piece of the brain, you know? Like, it's just gone. It's like smashing a bug.
Yeah.
You know, or, like, if you think about it, like, you remember, like, popping open, like, the tower of the computer when we were kids, you know, back when the internet used to come in on a CD. And so you'd pop it out, and they got all these little chips and stuff, you know, circuitry. And you know you're not supposed to bust that chip because it's too noticeable. But you see that wiring along the little line there, and you take that, and you take your pencil, and you just kind of scratch across it. That's how that is.
Yeah, and granted, I was never that curious.
No?
No.
Oh, yeah, I did.
I mean,
you're welcome.
Computers are expensive.
Yeah, I know, but if you've already, like, used LimeWire, you've already gotten that.
Yeah, and I remember talking to my dad about like downloading music. He's like, yeah, don't do that. And I'm like, too late. And he's like,
Right.
Carolyn. And I'm like,
Well, so you're not gonna like your Father's Day gift because you're hiding like the big like binder of burnt CDs that you gave the fucking family computer aides.
my dad was
And
still
Ebola.
listening to.
Neil Diamond.
I mean, because of my dad, I listened to Journey, Kansas, a little bit of Hall & Oates, a little bit of Santana, a lot of Heart. You know, my dad was like the classic rock junkie,
Right.
and my mom was the soft rock and new age. Like, if she wasn't listening to Richard Marx, she was listening to Enya. You know, so but even like my two sisters and everything, like we all listened to different.
Genres.
Yeah, and like I was the mishmash of everybody, you know. And then when I turned 18, my sister Allie, she took me to the industrial club and played me V&V Nation for the first time. I'm like, this music is amazing. And I just, from going to that particular club and then working at a particular alternative clothing store at the time, my taste in music just went, it expanded. And now I listen to pretty much everything.
And I think too, like with your work at that particular store and stuff, like it got you out of your secured, sheltered comfort zone. That
Oh
you were,
God, yeah. My mom
you know.
was kind of pissed that I got hired in at that store, and
Well, there goes our little girl.
right,
Little
and
did she know.
right, but
The more you try to control them, the more they're gonna remind you how you should mind your business.
right, and like when you are snooping through your kids' things and
I mean, but were
giving
you
them no
even a kid?
privacy.
Were you even like a kid when you had this job at that particular
I was
outlet?
18.
Yeah, see, dude, I know I've gotten grounded before being a whole ass adult. Yeah.
See, like, and this is probably gonna go off.
But
in a
I really
tangent.
don't think an 18-year-old is actually really an adult.
I don't either. By law, you are, but like you're still a teenager. You do not
your
have the world
mentality.
figured out.
You're still a stupid puppy tromping around in a fucking mud puddle.
Right. And when I told my mom that I got hired there, and she's like, "Oh," I'm like, "Mom, it's a job."
Right.
And fast forward like a year, I've been working the same job. My attendance is impeccable. My grades in school are pretty damn decent. I even ended up getting a second job working at one of my favorite pretzel places. I won't name them, but that was a very fun job. And I was balancing a serious relationship, 2 part-time jobs, and going to school full-time. And the fact that I worked at like that clothing store, at first my mom was like, eh. And then fast forward like a year or so, I would bring home clothing that I got on a discount, and my mom would be like, "Where'd you get that? That's a cute shirt." And I would just look at her and go, "Mom, where do I work?" And she's like, "You got that from work?" I'm like, "Yeah, because they give me a nice employee discount." You know?
She thought it was all like
Ookie spooky,
Ookie
Grim Reapers,
spooky,
and metal and
black
upside down
goats
crosses. And it's
dead
like,
babies.
right. And it's like, yeah, no.
Dead baby Jesus.
And like even my stepdad at the time, which he's an asshole, I don't want to get into that. I don't want to get too in depth in that on this episode, but like he's like, the Grim Reaper is on all those t-shirts and everything's black and it's so scary and it looks like satanic things. And I'm like, seriously?
Those kind of people always make me feel like they're the most curious and repressed people, because like the people who are like confident and secure, or at least content in who they are, really don't give a shit about people that aren't causing anybody any kind of harm.
Exactly.
Like, they don't care what they wear, they don't care what they eat, they don't care what language they speak.
Nope. And I remember, well, my stepdad was a bigot. He was both religious, or claimed to be religious, and he was a raging hypocrite.
Usually.
Yeah. And I'm not saying all religious people are hypocrites.
No, but we're saying this type of person is usually those two things coincide with this kind of person she's describing.
And I remember going out to dinner on or around one of my birthdays. And there was a same-sex couple sitting up at the bar in the same room that I was eating dinner with my mom and stepdad, and both of them are just eyeing daggers at this couple, and I'm like, what is the problem?
Just say something.
Oh no, I did. I
mean them. Like, if you're really gonna sit there and feel that bothered to like go out of your way to make eye contact and make dirty looks and like that stuff, like get up, say something, make yourself known, but like. Yeah,
say it with your whole chest or shut the fuck up.
Right, or just mind your business and enjoy your fucking waffles.
Exactly. And I spoke up. I'm like, what is the problem? And they're like, that couple at the bar. I'm like, they are having a grand old time, minding their own damn business, hanging on each other and being affectionate. But we're man and woman, Tara. And I'm like, it doesn't fucking matter. If it bothers you, stop looking.
You can continue to infect the earth unfucking planned.
Yeah, and they obviously were irritated at me speaking up, but I'm like, no, if it bothers you that much, don't look at it.
You know, and that's the thing too, is that people, when confronted in situations that they should speak up, they should speak up more often. You know, like, even if it is generally an unpopular opinion, you should speak up. But if you feel that strongly of people being in a public space with you, then say it, but don't sit there and have bad vibes if you're going to have an opinion. Like, that's more of a you thing, your own perception, and you should probably go pray on that, because it wasn't supposed to be your business to worry about what they were doing to begin with.
Exactly. And, you know, Jesus himself, you know, come as you are, it's one of the 10 commandments, love thy neighbor as thyself. If you're not going to do that, like, I'm not religious. And truth be told, you know, my experiences with my ex-stepdad, you know, they played a role in me walking away from the faith. You know, I'm like, I don't want to be associated with that. I do not want to wear the same title as that. You know, and if I basically was like, hey God, if I have to go the rest of my life associating with people like that, or sharing the faith with people like that, or wearing the same label as people like that, like if I have to go the rest of my life being religious and being lumped in the same category as that, I want no part of it. And granted, even being a practicing witch, not every witch is a good person either, you know. But I also I'm able to separate, you know, the shit from the actual faith. And I've just defaulted to, okay, if you're gonna preach Jesus and Christianity and love thy neighbor,
you should really make a point of living that way then.
Exactly. Yeah. You know, if you're gonna claim to be whatever religion you are and you just want the title and do none of the work, fuck you, move aside.
Well, and then none of the work doesn't just mean showing up to service and paying your tithes, you know? Like, no, that means
be charitable. Actually give a shit about people.
You know, and that goes back to, like, our own opinions and thoughts on the matter, is because, like, that's... No matter what you do, it's a kind of a catch-22. Any kind of real organized religion or path of spirituality, which is why I really don't...
subscribe.
I don't subscribe to the whole, like, trendy, like, oh, well, I'm this kind of witch, I'm this kind of... I'm spiritual, you know? But I'm not gonna sit here and claim this and claim that when I know how fallible I can be on any certain subject. I know how I live, I know my own conscience and how I would like to see the world, you know? And... that's what I need to work on instead of worrying about who's going to come save me when my body rots.
Yeah. And I try to strive for the belief or the path of leaving the world a better place than once you found it.
Right.
You know, I know I'm the villain in some people's story. I'm comfortable with that.
Yeah, I'm totally fine with that, especially if it's wrong.
Exactly.
And if you choose to believe it, I'm not going to correct you.
But I just being at like, and I was growing up, like my family wasn't super religious, but we went to church every now and again, especially on Christmas Eve, which the one church that I did go to as a teenager, I loved their Christmas service. It was just, it
I
just
always
had
liked
this
it when they
air
had
of
good
like,
food. If the church had good food, I was okay to come hang out.
right. But no, I was a confirmand at the age of 14. I did catechism. I was, I uh, lit the candles. I'm forgetting or not choir boy, but oh god, but I would accolade. I think or acolyte. That's what it was.
Acolyte, an accolade.
I was
your accolades.
Sorry, there's a gnat flying around and it landed on my nose.
It's been like trying to bug you for like the last couple minutes. I wanted to kind of at it, but I didn't think it was gonna really affect anything too well.
Yeah, but oh well. But no, I was an acolyte.
She
I
was
lit
a
the
fire
candles.
starter. Don't let her lie. She didn't really. They weren't waiting for her to light the candle. She snuck in. She almost burnt the shit down. I'm just kidding. I'm playing. Okay,
I was a good girl. I
didn't know her as a little
teenager.
girl. Yeah, she was definitely very.
And then I went off the deep end in my 20s.
There's probably what is that? Is it Rule 32, where it's like you can think of anything and like there'll be like
it's Rule 34.
34. Okay.
Yeah, if you can think of it, there's
VeggieTales Rule 34.
Oh,
Yeah.
If you like to, we're not gonna finish singing that.
It's like the glowworm on
Big Mouth.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Yeah.
That show
That's
was ridiculously fun. No. Oh my God. But no, that's hilarious. Big Mouth was such a good show, and I wish they would like reignite it or bring it back or like give us another season because
didn't they have one where it was like the human resource department of the hormone monsters office?
I think so, but I don't remember that episode very clearly.
It's like a spin-off.
Oh,
yeah,
no, I didn't know that.
Yeah, there's like a human resource like office type show spin-off.
That's funny.
So we'll have to check that out. So.
Yeah, we have to. So, getting back to Poveglia Island, wow, the sidetrack. But
Poveglia Island, what were we talking about with that? With the hauntings and stuff like that?
Yes. Supposedly, like, people, like, traveling by the island, because unless you have, like, special permission to go on the island, you can't access it. Like, you're not allowed to go.
Not allowed to go. Don't they have some full-time workers that are on the island, like, but they have to leave at a certain time of the day?
That I don't know.
I thought I had saw that from one of the numerous videos I watched over the last week.
Okay.
About Poveglia Island is that there's actually, like, they have, like, maintenance type people that work full-time on the island, but I don't think they actually live on the island. I think that it's mostly, like, patrols, securities, maintenance on, like, the equipment and things like that to...
Can you imagine if you had to work third shift on the island?
I don't think that yeah, that's crazy, because,
like, I know,
I watched something, there was a YouTuber that, like, camped out there. He was supposed to camp with a buddy.
Yep.
And then, like, something with the passport and stuff got hung up, and so he didn't end up getting over there. So he ended up solo camping, and I ended up falling asleep while I was listening to it, so I didn't end up listening to the rest of it. But I did end up, like, I did plan on going ahead and thinking back on it and watching it again, so. Maybe we'll have to make this a multi-part thing, just same thing with, like, the whole Garth Brooks thing we need to deep dive into. Like,
yeah, Jordan wants us to do he wants us to do an episode on the conspiracy theory that Garth Brooks is a serial killer.
Doesn't he have a residency out there in Vegas?
I don't know.
Or didn't he used to? Because that would be interesting to look and see, like, how many people were missing, murdered, or listed as endangered in that area that he had the residency in.
That would just be like another wormhole to go down.
Yeah.
Rabbit hole, wormhole, rabbit hole. Yeah.
Wormhole because we're gonna get to it quicker and time's not linear, so we can jump right to the point.
Right.
I like that idea.
But
we need to learn how to do that. Or if we already do, we need to figure it out. And I guess one of you corporations like Blackstone or Apple can like patent a device to have us have a real Stargate. You guys are listening. I'm just kidding. This is only frosting. There was no real thought behind that. Okay, guys?
But no, with like I said, Jordan wants us to do that. He wants us to talk about the conspiracy theory, and we are not insinuating anything. I will stress this.
Yeah, he wants us to discuss the conspiracy theory because it's been a long-standing one. I've heard this conspiracy theory for quite some time, like at least the last 12, 13 years. I've heard this conspiracy theory that he is what Jordan wants us to explain.
Yeah. And another theory that I heard while I was reading about serial killers back in the day, there was a theory put forth that H.H. Holmes was Jack the Ripper.
Oh, yeah, no, I've heard that one, too. And I think that they figured that out by...
I think they finally figured out who Jack the Ripper was.
By testing his DNA with, like, Ancestry DNA. And, it was, they said it was H.H. Holmes. Which makes sense because the murders from Jack the Ripper stopped when he moved over across seas, but then weirdly enough, they had some very similar signs.
Yeah.
It's just like, who was it? Ben Franklin that was supposed to be a serial killer? And
what?
Yeah.
I never heard that.
Yeah. One of our founding fathers, the guy, he was, I feel so stupid for saying this, but yeah, like the key and the fucking kite dude. Yeah.
I might have to look into that too.
He had a body found in like the crawl space or something of his house, and they said that like he was either a grave robber that like did like how when they had the experiments on cadavers and like they did grave robbing and stuff. So either he was involved in that or he like personally killed people. He was like skull and bones order dude,
Garth Brooks conspiracy.
Yeah. And see if he had a residency out in Vegas. Because that's where I think I had first heard something about it is, well, he had some sort of residency out there and the tunnel people were going missing and saying something about, like, some insidious stuff and, like blood type stuff. I don't know.
I'm writing notes.
Yeah, no, I know. What I'm saying is that it's just... We're not insinuating, we're just saying it's a weird thing, and Jordan says to talk about it, so let's talk about it.
H.H. Holmes, Jack the Ripper?
And Ben Franklin, baby.
Yeah,
and
I wrote
Abraham
that down.
Lincoln was really gay.
What?
Yep.
I thought he was bi.
Well, maybe, but he definitely liked to diddle dudes.
I never heard that either. I need to research this stuff.
He was a womanizer, and the reason he treated women like shit is because he was really a power bottom. Because he wanted to be the baddest bitch in the room.
I am, like, low-key speechless.
I'm not. I can see it. He didn't give a crap about the enslaved people until it was politically adequate.
Yeah, that makes sense. That part makes sense.
The baddest bitch in the ballroom, baby. Take that.
But, no, like, to segue into a future episode, it's been said that people, like, on boats traveling by Poveglia will hear, like, screams of patients being tortured and stuff like that.
Shadowy figures and stuff, yeah.
Well, and we'll talk more about this in a later episode, but, both Ghost Hunters Taps and Ghost Adventures did episodes on Poveglia, and both instances, they were like, in their own professional way, they're like, shit's really fucked up here. Everybody had experiences, like...
See, maybe we should, like, offshoot this into the, like, a paranormal kind of vlogging thing, like when we go up to that one island that's that, old abandoned cemetery and things like that, because, like, I can't help but to find myself a skeptic. Like,
And
being as spiritual as I would like to think that I am, I cannot help but be skeptic. Not that I, like, want to see some shit that I probably shouldn't see, but, like, I'm more skeptic to think if it's more of, like, energy and, like, a general consensus type anomaly, or if it's something that is happening, or if it's something that in nature, in the way that it changes our perception of our dimension, if that's what happens, or if they're actually ghosts, like separate entities, you know?
well, that
That
also
once
kind
lived
of sorry to cut you off. That kind of coincides with the belief or like the notion that, primitive humans didn't have the terminology or the vernacular to describe what they were experiencing through nature. So they're like, oh, it's a spirit, or oh, it's this entity, or it's that entity. But on the flip side, there's also the belief that even a tall tale has an element of truth. Maybe earlier man, earlier humankind actually did see ghosts, or a Wendigo, or flesh pedestrians, as I heard in a morbid episode. Like,
Did you hear until, like, photography became popular that ghosts weren't typically thought of, spoken of, or depicted as, like, wispy and floating off the ground generally?
yeah,
Yeah. Yep, and it's, oh, I forget what it was. It's like the phantasmagram. I think it was. There was some sort of, what is that? Here, let me look this up. I was looking at this because I thought that was interesting, really. Let's see.
pardon me sniffling. My nose has been like in overdrive today, so I promise I'm not doing drugs other than weed, and caffeine, but whatever. It's like my nose has been like, I've been on the verge of sneezing all day, and I have sneezed, but it's like the tickle is not going away, and it's driving me insane.
Phantasmagoria. Yes, the Phantasmagoria. There you go. Yes.
Phantasmagoria is a shifting, dreamlike, and confusing sequence of illusions, images, or scenes that are constantly changing. Yeah.
Yeah. So that wasn't really a thing until this particular type of photography, which is funny because you know how we do the art and photography and fashion and pop culture type stuff, is that ghosts weren't depicted as transparent, wispy, floating wraiths of creatures generally until this projector was set up and could set up these pictures, and only thing that they could project was like these translucent kind of floaty objects.
I think I've heard about that.
And it was easier if they kind of like moved and shifted in and out with the stability and looking reality of it. So yeah, until then they were considered more so sitting here like you and me, or flashing in and out, which would also explain the whole dimensional thing or energy lock transfer thing, which is what I believe strongly to be a case in most apparitional type things.
That actually reminds me of an experience that my dad had while he was in the Navy. And for the record, my dad was for the most part a skeptic.
Right.
Like, he's like, I don't believe in the paranormal, but I believe in things that can't be explained as of yet.
It's like the other me thing with my shadow silhouette person mirroring me in the opposite side is like, I'm very much a skeptic and I don't know what it is, but I'm far more likely to believe that these ghosts and phantoms are either energy traces left behind from so much of the same kind of negative trauma to that area, or lapses in dimension and time to where it keeps repeating over itself because of the thought manifesting that into a reality. Because you know how when you speak on something, like people speaking on God, making God a powerful entity and being a thing, that gives it power. So we give these images and ideas power.
Yeah.
By speaking and believing these things over and over again.
It's like speaking it into existence.
Right. Because, reality ain't real. No, I'm just kidding, guys.
We're in a simulation. We're all brains in a jar.
I do feel myself to be more of a skeptic and believe it would be more of a physics anomalies or more of a physics thing than it would be like they're ghost entities trapped here and can't move on, even though they were here living. When in all reality, our mortal bodies are the shortest lived thing ever. It's like a flower on an apple tree.
Right. And, well, because when my dad, when he was in the Navy, he served in the Bermuda Triangle. Like, the actual Bermuda Triangle. And when he first told me that, I'm
What's
like...
going on with the Bermuda Triangle now? Because nobody ever talks about the Bermuda Triangle anymore.
Right. It's like, we haven't heard anything about that in a long time.
Right.
But when my dad told me that he served in Bermuda, I'm like, so did anything happen? And he's like, no. And I'm like...
Weird.
That's strange.
How long were you there? Oh, only 2 days.
Oh, no. He was there for a while.
No,
But...
I mean, like,
yeah. But, no, he did have one story where his dive team they were swimming in this one particular area, and the next day, they double, triple, quadruple checked their coordinates, made sure they were in the exact same spot. And this was only 24 hours difference between visit 1 and visit 2, or swim 1 and swim 2. But...
Ain't no fucking way. You're never gonna catch my ass willingly getting in the ocean like that. I'm not going swimming in the fucking pond. Okay?
I don't think I have thalassophobia, but the idea of swimming in a really big body of water where I can't see the bottom, or there might be jellyfish that could kill me, I'm like, nah, I'm good.
Yeah, no, I'm not built to breathe underwater. There's a reason why I have legs and not fins.
Right.
I'm
But
a land animal.
Within 24 hours of swim 1 and swim 2, like, my dad's dive team was like, everything's different.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the wildlife was different, the rock formations, the water itself, like, underwater.
Like the feeling of it. Like...
Everything was different. And I'm like, Dad, you had an experience. And he goes, no, I didn't. And I'm like, Dad!
Well, and how much of that is denial to be like, well, I'm normal, everything's fine, and how much of this do we ignore in our daily life that sometimes it just bleeds through because it's not fucking normal?
Yes! And, like I said, my dad, he claimed to not believe in the paranormal, but he would acknowledge that sometimes science can't explain something.
Right.
And it's
Which is intriguing.
Yes. But it's also like, so Dad, about that experience you had in Bermuda, and he would be like, nothing happened. And I'm like...
But it did, because they were different. So what was so different that day compared to... And, like, do you think that, like, maybe... Because you said that they checked multiple times.
Yeah.
But also in that area, instruments have been known to miscalculate and uncalibrate.
Exactly. And
like the drop of a dime.
Exactly. And I'm just like, Dad. And nope.
So what's underneath, though, that's causing those magnetic differences? Because there's different portals all over the world.
Yeah.
That have that strange, wacky-ass magnetic pull. And if you think about it, a really strong magnet will make a compass go haywire if it's underneath something. Like, a table with an industrial magnet underneath it, and then you set a compass on it, your compass is going to go all kinds of ways. Or it's going to constantly lead the wrong way.
Yeah, so...
A fun little Bill Nye experiment from back when I was in, 7th grade. That was cool. I think I actually did that for, a science essay or something in one of my schools, by the way.
Nice.
Because I showed that was a possibility if we were, talking on physics and stuff.
I think when
I was a bright and talented child that had lots of potential.
My senior year in high school. Oh, that brings me back to religion. My senior year in high school, I took this class called World Authors. And it was basically literature from throughout the world. So we got exposed to the Canterbury Tales by Geoffrey Chaucer. And we also got to read a portion of the Epic of Gilgamesh.
Oh, I love that.
And it was the section of the Epic of the Great Flood.
Actually.
And I read that portion of the Epic of Gilgamesh, and I brought it up to my teacher the next day. I'm like, this sounds like Noah's Ark.
Well,
And she's like,
every
it does,
old
doesn't it?
civilization has a great flood, including like Atlantis being gone, Lemuria. I think there's
Yeah.
like 4 more continents that are lost.
But I had never been exposed to any of that prior to this. I was only familiar with the Bible.
Right.
You know.
Right, with the ark and then like
Yeah.
the 2 of 2 and
So I bring it
what
up.
about the fish? Because did he kill off all but 2 of the fish of everything?
I don't fucking know.
Or were the fish exempt? Because by that standard and like case and being, all animals are innocent and they should have been spared of the cleansing. Yes.
But I brought it up to my teacher. I'm like, this sounds like Noah's Ark, and she's like, it does, doesn't it? You know, like she was playing like, I'm gonna play stupid. Like I want to see what you lead into with this.
Right.
And I'm like, well, I think the Epic of I think the Epic of Gilgamesh copied the Bible. And she's like, you think so? And I'm like, well, I heard the Bible first, and then I came this one second, and she goes,
the Bible is right because that's what God said.
That was my mentality when I was 17. Well, this was before I walked away from the faith.
God, you were quite a little sheltered pen.
I was!
I was about to say, like, maybe, like, when I was, like, 6 or 7, I was definitely curious and asking these things.
No.
It made me very not popular in study.
I mean, granted, I was an angsty teenager at 14, and I was drawing, quote-unquote, demons in my catechism book. I was drawing monsters on the pages. I'm like, yeah, I'm paying attention.
I mean, but you are, because the whole thing keeps telling you about all these bad things that are going to happen to you sometimes just because your parents got horny and had sex.
Yeah. And as I'm leading into, like, my confliction, like, I was very conflicted in this moment talking to my teacher about the Bible versus the Epic of Gilgamesh.
Right.
And she reminded me, she's like, the Epic of Gilgamesh was written like 5,000 years ago.
Yeah.
The Bible was written 3,000 years ago.
Yeah, but to like a young person, like at 17 even, like you think 40 is like pretty old, you know, you think 100 is like, that doesn't matter.
Right.
You know, but now at like, you know, our nice young age, 1046 if you're curious. You know, 100 years is a drop of a dime.
Right. And that was in that moment when she's like, oh yeah, the Epic of Gilgamesh is older. I'm like, boop, wait a minute. You know, and that's when I started being a bit more, that when it came to religion and spirituality and like learning other cultures, that I think in that moment was when I started to think at least slightly more critically about like religion in general. And then shortly after that, I told my dad that I'm like, and of course I led into this, Dad, I need to have a serious conversation with you. And he'd be like, what now?
Right.
You know, and I told him,
every time you said that, he was just terrified that you were pregnant.
No.
Dad, I'm gay. Oh, thank fuck.
Right.
Yeah.
But no, my dad was like, okay, what's going on? And I'm like, I don't think I'm Christian. And he is like,
see, in some people that would have definitely been way worse than like being gay or, you know, pregnant out of wedlock.
Yeah. Like in retrospect, I didn't realize like how, like, okay, so when you try to excommunicate yourself from the faith, you run the risk of losing your community, losing your family, you know, losing your friends, like.
Well, and I think that like you and I had a pretty privileged like point too of our type of family and religious sect that we grew up in, both individually.
Yeah.
Compared to like other places, like other spiritual practices and beliefs, like you know, our Amish or, You know, different religions is if you do try to excommunicate, you literally do lose everything,
Right.
including your identity and sometimes the right to use your own name.
Yep. And in retrospect, I realize now how much I was putting myself at risk, but I was raised Lutheran. As far as I was concerned back then, Lutherans were pretty cool. Methodists, on the other hand, one Methodist in particular, aka my ex-stepdad, not so much. And
I mean, I've always found them kind of weird. They're like the vegan cheese pizza of, like, relaxed Christians.
we drink grape juice,
Sorry
not
to
wine.
anybody that's Methodist. Like, I'm not trying to, like, that's just from my experience with some of the Methodist people I was around while I was young. They were definitely the vegan cheese pizza, in my opinion, of spiritual folks that I've
Dropped your phone.
dealt with. They weren't horrible, but they definitely weren't something that I craved, and they didn't make animated movies with deliciousness displayed.
I love VeggieTales. But, no, like, when I was 17, I had that conversation with my dad that I didn't feel like I was Christian, and he was like, okay, well, what do you believe in? and in the moment, because I had been reading a book about, like, druid magic and stuff like that, of course I had to keep that under wraps for my mom and stepdad.
I think
my
that
dad
was
on
the
the other
time that it was, like, getting, like, very underground trendy. This is, like, how
Yeah.
many years ago? Like, 20?
I was 17, so
They had, like, bookstores,
22.
like, in town and stuff still, too, so you could go and maybe search these books up. It's before you could order them and bring them to your house, right?
Right.
Like, that's, yeah.
And my dad, he was like, okay, so what do you believe in? And I'm like, I think, and in the moment, I was like, I think I lean a bit more on, like, the druid side of things, which, granted, I'm not a druid. I'm not going to claim to be one. This was just my naive 17-year-old brain trying to make sense of things.
That's what the Eurocentric kind of, like, westernized whitewashing of indigenous practices, angelicized washing instead of whitewashed Eurocentric, because it's all Eurocentric. It's, I mean, like, Romanized, angelicized Augustine, like, like an Emperor Augustine.
Yeah, that sounds familiar.
Anyways, that's their take and filtration on, indigenous cultures of Paleo Europe and Paleo, what is that? Paleo Indo-European society, like the steppe people and stuff, like their thoughts and their indigenous cultures. It's like what all colonizers do when they go and meet an indigenous culture. Either
New
they
place,
assimilate
or die.
Right. And then, called Saturnalia and Yule Christmas, because that's supposedly when Christ was
get rid of the pagans
born and the animals were out to pasture in the middle of winter. Time was different then, because you could also be an adult at 13, but also live to be 400 years old, too.
Mm-hmm.
Because time is not real. Anyways, that's a different rant.
But,
what was I getting on with?
I don't know. I was trying to lead into, like, the conversation that I had with my dad.
About what?
Like, how I'm like, I'm not Christian.
Oh, yeah, and you thought you were Druid, right?
Yeah. And my dad's like, okay, well, what else? And I'm like, the Bible is a great basis for moral conduct, but as far as I'm concerned, it's a really long, drawn-out fairy tale. Again, this is what I was saying as a 17-year-old who had just had an epiphany at school, okay?
Because you found out something was the same thing that was wrote a long time
from
ago.
a completely separate culture, and that completely separate culture, that story was written thousands of years prior to the Bible, and I'm like, what?
What?
But, my dad was like, his exact response was, and I quote, just remember where you come from. And that was dad language for, please remain, I respect your newfound opinion, and I respect you, but not everybody's going to agree with you, so please respect that. And it's like,
right.
Okay.
And I think that more parents should be like that.
Yeah.
Like, especially in these days and age, because, like, now a lot of parents are like, well, if they don't love you, then that's not your fault. You know, like, but, like, it's like, you need to be aware that, yeah, it's not your fault, it's not your responsibility to bear, but you also can't sit there and expect people to be fine and okay with it and not have any kind of criticism that goes against what you currently believe.
Exactly. And, like, I'm open to discussion about it, you know, but as somebody who technically has not claimed themselves to be Christian for the last 20 plus years, it's like, I will. I joke about, I mean, I laugh at jokes about religion, especially Christianity, because, you know, there's a few reasons, especially in today's day and age, that make Christians look really shitty, and they're also really easy to laugh at. The bad Christians, not Christians in general. But I just kind of, like, I even laugh at witchy jokes, or, like, you know.
I mean, I do love astrology girl jokes.
Yes, those are funny. Like, especially in, like,
Haha, I'm such a Gemini.
right, or like, I'm so Pisces.
I do.
I want to be
Gemini
a
lot.
mermaid, you know.
I Gemini a lot, so.
And I am a Pisces, towards the end of the Pisces, but
then again, you got those other fucking gatekeepy ass nitpickers that, like, they're like, oh, but you know, the rest of your chart is gonna influence you to be this way and this way and that way, and, like, honestly, I don't care too much. I know that I was born Dave's Gemini, and I'm birthday twin with Biggie Smalls, so that's all I need.
And I like to humor astrology in some capacity, but at the end of the day, it's like,
I gotta take accountability. Just because Mercury's Gatorading again doesn't mean I can go on my lunar cycle and paint the town red.
Right. You know, it's still like, if you want your spell to work, do the work.
Yeah,
you know,
you can't set intentions and then don't show up.
Yeah. Talk the talk, but you gotta walk the walk.
Well, and I think that that's what we were getting at earlier, too, with about the I'm Christian, but you're not living as a Christian because you're too worried about them gay couples over there loving each other and showing each other attention in public.
Exactly.
When you're just mad because your husband hasn't touched you like that in 25 years.
Or you have a lackluster sex life yourself and you think that other people are going through the same misery. It's I'm sorry.
Well, yeah, and instead of being mad for someone to be happy, maybe you should try some gay shit.
Right? Or invest in a fucking dildo.
Try some gay shit. No, I'm just kidding.
You know, but just, you know, like, my family is predominantly conservative Christian, and here I am, the bleeding heart progressive liberal, little mixture of the two.
I was gonna say, I don't know exactly what I am, because I'm pretty conservative.
In some you're like fiscally conservative, but when it comes to social justice, you're like,
I guess, but
no.
I'm not the type to be like, oh, well, pray for da-da-da, pray for da-da-da, like,
no.
Thoughts and prayers for this. Like, honestly, like, I know I'm a big part of the fucking problem, and, like, we all are. But, like, what is right, and when you actually have to say something, I'm definitely not the type of person that wouldn't say something that needed to be said.
Right. And I fully acknowledge and think that I am, like, the black sheep of the family, because, like, even I remember, like, going to a family member's funeral last year, and my aunt made the comment, oh, Tara in a church. Ooh, this is new. And I just looked at her like, seriously? You're that, like, I had the thought run through my head that it's like, you're that at a loss for a conversation starter that you have to get a half-assed jab at me because I don't go to church? That's cute. How old are you again? You know, but I just kind of looked at her. I'm like, oh, yeah, soapbox moments.
But maybe there's a reason why she drags her carcass over there to church, you know? Like, you need to be around people that feel like they need forgiveness and they need answers.
If religion... I just want to stress this, okay? What works for you is not going to work for everybody. Respect that. Both ways. You know, one person can be Christian, another person can be a witch. Don't preach Don't shove your beliefs down each other's throats.
Well, and I don't think that you have to be one or the other either.
Right, you can be a Christian witch. That's a story for another day.
I mean, and I think that it's just narrowly speaking from our own condition and experiences, because like there's so much more out there than just Christianity.
Yeah, there is.
And people's whole like thought processes and core beliefs is so much deeper than just Abrahamic religions in general.
Mm-hmm. But the other thing is,
we can only talk from what we relate with.
Right. And if you find genuine, healthy, nurturing community through religion, more power to you. Go knock your socks off.
Right.
Go have fun. Go do your deity's work.
Right.
You know, I'm acknowledging that, again, it could work for you, but it didn't for me. Jesus and I are still cool. Like, if Jesus were to appear on my doorstep,
J-Dog's
like,
my homie, man.
yeah, you know.
J-Dog would be somebody that the so-called religious zealots of our time, the conservative religious fanatics, they would definitely murder him in a very public way. Just like they did before.
Already.
Oh, yeah. No, yeah, I mean, that's, history repeats itself, even though it's not cyclical, huh?
I think firmly that Jesus would be very disenchanted and
I think Jesus
disappointed.
would be a slay queen of our day.
Yeah.
Like, he'd probably be a femboy. I love it.
And I remember when I was 22 and my mom and my relationship with my mom was like kind of on the uptick a little bit before she passed away. I finally had a more in-depth, better thought out, similar conversation with her about why I wasn't religious.
Right.
And I listed the reasons, and her response was like, never stop questioning. Like, please, you know.
I mean, but that's what we have free will for, and I'm glad that, like, your thought processes and, like, confessionals was accepted so kindly.
Yeah, they were. You know, granted, I had to wait 5 years to have that conversation with my mom because my stepdad was a religious piece of shit. Religious, quote unquote.
I mean, but that goes towards, like, a little bit of show faith towards, like, people being able to evolve and change, too, because within those 5 years, your mom changed enough to be able to understand and perceive what you were trying to communicate with her instead of just shutting down and being under the guise of, well, you know, this is what my husband says,
and by that point, my mom was starting to get sick and tired of my stepdad's shit.
Right.
You know?
Well, she was getting sick and tired.
Yep. And by this point, they had been together almost, or like, I think they had been together about 8 years by this point. And my mom was just kind of like, she stopped fawning in the presence of him being a tyrant, a wannabe tyrant, basically.
Right.
You know, she would actually speak up more often. She would take my side more often because by this point, I'm starting to like throw shit back in his face.
And maybe like this is something you really haven't thought of yet, but like how much of her younger self did she see in you that she had allowed to get squashed, you know? And you had the guts to stand against it, you know, and so like maybe that gave her the courage she needed to, you know, and which that's the good thing about like, you know, parents that don't have good relationships with their kids.
Yeah.
Is that like maybe something about them that you dislike is something that you allowed to be quelched within yourself.
Yeah.
You know, and that's usually a projection of like your own failures is when you choose to get angry at your child for displaying something.
I can see that.
By the way, do you want some of that summer sausage and crackers and cheese? Because I'm going to run and grab that.
You can go grab it, but I think I'm good right now.
Okay. You know you want some. It's going to be delicious. I'm going to force you to eat cheese and crackers with me.
But, so, while Nikki goes and does that, I'll go off on my little tangent. But, no, I just want to stress, again, that if you find genuine, healthy, nurturing community through religion, go do that. You know, knock your socks off. I hope the best for you. You know, but from my own personal experience, that's not what I got. And I I never felt the community. I never felt the nurturing, especially at the hands of certain people in my life at the time. And it wasn't for me, you know, and I'm not on here to disorganize religion.
Right, and
What
we were talking about a plague island earlier, too.
Yeah, we were. And this well, we're going to revisit Poveglia Island as a topic in a later episode, because I did not do a whole lot of research. I did not take notes. That's my bad.
But listen, it's been kind of a
organic conversation, just going from one thing to another to another.
Oh yeah,
we're gonna leave this down here.
Well, I was trying to force you to take one just out of not thinking.
But no, we're getting at about an hour and 40 minutes right now. So
okay.
I think now is going to be a good time to call this particular episode. And
did we want to particularly talk about like what our next episode is going to be, or?
We can discuss like future episode ideas.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I do want to do more research about the Garth Brooks as a serial killer conspiracy. I do want to look more into and do more research about Poveglia.
Mm-hmm.
I actually, researching the Bubonic Plague got me thinking about wanting to do episodes talking about other diseases as well.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and like how they affect the body, what do they do, and like stories in microbiology class, because that class was freaking fun. I loved it. You know, and hopefully as we get more episodes out, and hopefully as our audience grows, I'm hoping that we get more people to submit stories of their experiences, because
we need to talk about the Dogman.
Yes, we
I've
do.
found at least 4 other states in America that have Dogman stories, and then also parts of Canada. We need to talk about Headless Valley too in Canada.
Ooh, I've never
if
heard
we
of
have
that.
any listeners that happen to be from Canada, our great
Write
big brothers
in, tell
up
us
north.
things.
Yes, tell us stuff, because we know the frozen north beyond the wall is a wild and untamed place.
Yes, and one of my all-time favorite quote-unquote mythical creatures from Native American lore is the Wendigo.
Mm.
You know, it just reading scary stories to tell in the dark as a child, and they do a story on the Wendigo. It's like, ooh, that's freaky. You know, so we want to talk about mythology and folklore and ooky spooky shit, you know, and then just see where the conversation evolves from there. So, yeah, we've got a lot of thoughts. It's going to be a process. Bear with us, but join us. You know, have fun. And hopefully we didn't scare the crap out of you or annoy the piss out of you or anything like that. And if you tune in on a later date, we appreciate you. So, that being said, if you're on social media, we are too. We are on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok at No Thoughts Just Frosting.
And we have an email that you can email us directly with your stories or recommendations, or even just your thoughts and frostings. Well, no, just ask permission if you want to try to send kind of frostings. We got to clarify, because some of us are gluten-free.
Right. And if you have any questions, comments, or complaints, you know, write to us. Let us know. We would like to hear from you guys. So,
well, and really think of if it's really worth complaining before you really complain, though.
Would you want somebody to complain about this to you?
Right.
If you're emailing us just to be an asshole, we might laugh at you. So
we could make it into a segment.
Probably. You know.
Preparation A-hole.
Huh?
Preparation A-hole.
I like that. So anyway, we will see you guys in the next video or in the next podcast episode, and thank you for tuning in.
Yep.
And have a good night. Bye.
Good night.